Well, good morning, YouTube. Hi guys, today we're working on this trailer. You just see to get all the debris off of it. Right now, Talon and I are trying to take the wheels off, and we haven't had these wheels off here in many years, and the trailer does sit out in the weather. So they're actually rusted on there pretty good, so we're having to use the torch to expand the nut a little bit and then break them loose. All right guys, so in today's project, we are working on this trailer. I've had this trailer for a number of years. We use it mostly for hauling cars around here and there, small cars, a few trucks. We haven't used it in a long time other than just local stuff. You know, hauling junk to the scrap yard and picking up cars here and there. In fact, the deck that's on the front of Michaela's house, we actually use this trailer to go pick that deck up that was pre-built years ago over in Hiawassee, Georgia. But I've got a project coming up. I don't know if we're gonna do it this week or next week, but we got a road trip and we're gonna need this trailer to go pick up a piece of equipment. So I just wanna go through to make sure that it's roadworthy, and because it's been a while. All right guys, we had to use heat. We got all the lug nuts off now except for one. And that lug nut, the whole stud is turning. So we're probably gonna have to cut that one off somehow. But that way we can pull off the drums and inspect the brakes. Now the brakes on this trailer have never worked since the day that I purchased it. So I don't know why. I've never even looked into it. We've always carried light stuff with it, with a truck that had good brakes on it. So we've never really been concerned with it. But with this load we're gonna go pick up, I wanna make sure the brakes are working. And yesterday, as I told Talon about the road trip, he then informed me that they had taken the spare off a few weeks ago and put it on the trailer because he ran over something in the yard and popped a tire. So anyway, that was very disappointing to hear because these tires are brand new. I just put them on here 14 years ago. Anyway, looks like we're gonna have to break out the oxygen acetylene torch and cut that one stud off of there so we get the last wheel off. And then we're gonna really assess these tires and see if we just need to replace all of them or not. I'm really like to avoid that because tires are stupid expensive now. And like I said, we don't use this trailer often. So I really hate to go throw $400 or $500 into tires that are just gonna sit here for 14 years again. All right guys, so we were gonna break out the oxygen acetylene torch and cut the stud and lug nut off of the outside. However, somehow my oxygen acetylene torch got broken. One of the regulators are snapped off on it, so we can't do that at the moment. So we just pulled the entire bearing assembly out of it and the hub. Now we can get to the back side. Maybe we'll just tack weld that stud in there or weld the nut to the back of it or something. We'll probably start by welding the actual stud into the spindle with a tack weld. That way we can always cut it loose if we need to replace the stud, but that should hold it still in order to get it off. All right guys, you can see that worked. All right, so now we're going to pull the drums off and inspect the brakes on there, see if they're even usable or whatever. That way I get to know whether or not I need to order new brake parts or if we can make what's here work. All right guys, let's see how this is. Ooh, nasty mess in there. And there's parts in the bottom of the drum, part of the adjuster. Apparently broken, and there's no friction material left on it except for, well, that piece. Yeah, so no matter what, we're ordering all new brake parts for it. The drum itself looks in pretty good shape though, it just needs to be degreased. All right guys, so we've got to a point, we've got it all apart, we've made a list of the things that we need to order. So for right now, we're gonna put a pin in this until we get the parts in to move forward on it. Still deciding on tires. I checked date codes. I've got 3 tires with 1 date code. One of them is flat. And I got 2 tires that are from a different date code that are much older. So maybe I'll just buy 2. That way I still get a good spare, and that'll be the 2 that are actually flat. But until we get back to that, Talon and I are actually going to work on the struggle bus for a little bit. I don't think we're going to record any of this right now. We're not doing like a major project, but we do have Gabe coming over in a couple of weeks, and he's going to come stay through Christmas and New Year's with us. So he's going to live in the struggle bus for the couple of weeks that he's here. So we at least need to make it livable so that all the plumbing and everything inside works. You guys remember when I was driving it back from South Dakota a few months ago, we had an issue with water leaking out somewhere. Don't know where it's from yet. So that's going to be our project, is to figure this stuff out. All right, guys, it is a couple days later, and we have our new brakes. Yeah, you can buy these as a backing plate assembly. Comes with everything pre-assembled on there. It's not too bad. I want to say they were like 88 bucks from my local CarQuest. And it's kind of nice having to deal with all of that. Comes with the magnet, the brake pads, all the springs, sorry, the brake shoes and everything. You'll see there are 4 studs sticking out on the back. So we need to take off the nuts on the old ones and get the old ones off, and these just slide in place and bolt down. All right, somewhere between pulling that back plate off on the right side of the trailer and walking over here to pull the one off of the left, the socket fell off of my ratchet, and I have no idea where it went. It's only 10 feet between here and there. I can't seem to find it. I don't get it, guys. I've been looking for like 10 minutes. I cannot find this stupid socket. It's like a 3/4. You know, if it was like a 10 millimeter or something, I get it, because, you know, 10 millimeters go missing. If you know, you know. But it's a 3/4. It should be standing out like a sore thumb. Now look, sore thumb right there in front of me. I walked by it 10 times. Sometimes it's the dumbest things that slow you down on a project. Anyway, let's get back to it. All right, and one of these bolts in the back, its relationship to the axle and the spring, I wasn't able to get the actual ratchet on there, so I had to break out 11/16 wrench and take this one off the slow way. All right, now that I've got all of the hubs off, all of the brakes and everything off, I'm going to take a few minutes to go ahead and clean up all these spindles really nice, make sure that the sealing surface is good for where the wheel seal goes on. That way, just easier to work with everything in the way. I'm also going to check all the leaf springs, the leaf spring hangers, all the connection points, make sure all that is in good shape before we hit the highway next week. I say next week, 2 days, 2 more days. When I started this project, it was next week. I'm also going to clean up stuff like this where you can see where this axle has definitely hit here when we've had this trailer overloaded. But I don't want any sharp edges like this hanging out. I don't want anything that's going to go ahead and catch a tire later on. So I'm going to either cut that off or beat it back down flat. All right, guys, so I've got all the spindles cleaned up and I checked all the suspension components and everything is looking pretty good. Ironically, though, the one spindle that had the leak and the grease was all over everything is the one that's rusty, which is weird. All the rest of them look perfect. So I have a feeling that at one point in time, this trailer had a problem where it sat with that wheel off of it for a little bit until they fixed it, because there's no reason it should be that rusted and pitted. It was covered with grease. And by the way, Grayson's now here helping out. Right, buddy? So he's got his little Home Depot apron on so it doesn't get dirty and everything else. So I think at this point I'm going to take all of the wheel bearings and the spindles and everything inside, clean them all out in the parts washer. That way I can get fresh grease in them and we'll start reassembling everything. All right, guys, well, I got everything clean, and you can see the wheel that had all the grease in it, that drum looks almost perfect inside. I mean, almost like a brand new drum, like nothing had ever been used in it before. The other one, however, because it hadn't been used in so long, it's got a couple little rust spots on it, but there's no cracks, there's no outer rounds. Everything else looks pretty good, so I think I'm just gonna clean that up with a piece of sandpaper or maybe some memory cloth. Just take the little high spots down off of it, and we're gonna roll with that. All right, guys, as you can see, a couple quick rounds, literally just about 2 minutes with some 80 grit. Looks pretty good inside there, feels good. I know there's some lines you can see, but you really can't even feel them. So I think that'll work. Definitely better than having to buy 2 new drums. All right, guys, so at this point, everything has been washed in the parts washer, and then everything has been washed with just soap and water in the sink. And then everything has been dried and then blown dried with the air gun. So we're pretty much ready to start reassembling. So I'm gonna go ahead and pack all these bearings with grease, get the seals put in, get everything ready so that when we go back out to the trailer, even though it's gonna look like it's gonna be tomorrow because it's getting dark out, we will be able to just kind of slide everything together and it'll be all set, ready to go. We won't have to worry about any of this. Now, I've been real careful since we're reusing the bearings. I've inspected them all and I make sure that each bearing stays with the race set that they came out with. So this one goes here, those will go there, and those go there. All right, guys, everything there is greased up and ready to go, but unfortunately, we have lost our light outside, and it's kind of raining on and off again. So the forecast looks like it's going to start raining pretty good here in just a few minutes. So I don't think I'm going to try to put them back on because dark is one thing, raining and dark, that's 2 negatives. I'm not going to do it. But mostly just because it doesn't have to be done right now. Obviously, if this was a time-sensitive thing and I had to get it done, I would. But right now, I got no reason to not just go in, eat dinner, come back out in the morning when I can see, and hopefully it won't be raining. We'll slap it back together. Well, guys, here's what the next morning looks like. Yeah, it's still raining pretty good. We've got light. So I got some errands to go run. I'm gonna try to do that first. It looks like this afternoon it might clear up a little bit. Gonna go drop off some love jugs to ship out and pick up the tires for the trailer anyway. So get that done. Hopefully we'll have some luck in a little bit. All right, there goes the UPS guy making deliveries. You know, we're back home now and it's not raining real hard, but I'm about to lose my light. So I'm trying to decide whether I'm gonna go change clothes and try to get this done now or wait till morning. But it's not looking promising for morning, so I think we're just gonna do this. All right, put some grubby clothes on because I'm gonna get greasy. And it looks like we've only got about a 2-hour lull in the rain, so I'll try to at least get these backing plates on, get the bearings in place, the hubs on, and then don't worry about tires. If you saw in that earlier clip, we got the 4 tires. All 4 trailer tires are gonna be brand new, and I'll pick the best of these old ones to use as a spare. All right, guys, before I throw these backing plates on, you see the 4 studs coming out of the back. I'm gonna apply some anti-seize to those because we have had some rust issues, as you saw at the beginning of this video, trying to get lug nuts and everything off. So I just want to ensure that in the future we don't have so much trouble on that. So these are brand new studs. We do have to reuse the nuts that we took off of these, but these nuts came off relatively easy. A little tough to break loose, but once they broke loose, they spun off pretty good. So yeah, a little bit of anti-seize on there. We'll get these thrown together. You'll also notice that there are 2 wires on there. These are electric brakes, and basically how this works is got an electromagnet right down here at the bottom, and when you send power to the electromagnet, it then becomes magnetized and it will reach out and grab the brake drum. And of course, as you're rolling down the road, that brake drum is spinning, so it actually grabs the brake drum. That's what actuates the brake. So as the magnet catches the drum, which is here, it will then pull the whole assembly like this, and you see that opens that up right there and causes the pads to spread. Now obviously it'll move a lot further than that, but that's how it works. Now you also notice that both wires are green. It doesn't matter which you use for the ground or which you use for the power supply. As long as power comes into one from the brake controller and the other one gets grounded properly, it's going to work just fine. Now these are labeled left and right. It does make a difference, so make sure you don't get them mixed up on either side of the trailer. Make sure the right goes to the right and the left goes to the left. And just so you know, it doesn't matter what direction you're standing and facing at the vehicle. Almost all vehicles, motorcycles, cars, trucks, so on and so forth, with the exception of boats maybe because they use port starboard. But anyway, the left side of the vehicle is the relationship as if you were sitting in the driver's position. So on a motorcycle, if you're sitting on the seat, you got your left side, you've got your right side. It's not from where you're standing looking at the motorcycle. It's always from the driver's position. All right, so the anti-seize is on. You can see there's the nose of the trailer. So we are working on the left side of the trailer. We are making sure that we have the left brake assembly. We're gonna just slide it right on there, bolt it in. And of course you wanna make sure that your magnet is at the 6 o'clock position. It's a busy day here for deliveries. There goes the FedEx guy. And the right one on the right side. So these hang on there pretty simply. The only thing you really got to watch out for is when you line up those 4 bolt holes and you slide the backing plate on, you just want to make sure that the 2 wires coming off of the back of the backing plate don't get pinched in that spot. Just make sure they're kind of held out of the way with your hand as you slide it on. Put the 4 nuts and washers on, tighten it down. All right, it is getting a little bit too dark outside to film. But basically, now I'm going to grab the drums, the bearing assemblies, and go out there, assemble them on each one. And then I'll come back and I'll grab just the hubs that don't have brakes and go out there and assemble those. Well, guys, don't mind the headlamp, but it's getting dark out there. And that's what I got to do to see. But when we took everything apart, we were missing 1 washer. So when the bearing assembly goes together, you've got your seal, and then your inner bearing, and then there's a space between the bearings. You've got your outer bearing, which is the smaller bearing. Then there should be a big washer, and then the nut goes on to actually tighten the assembly up. And one of them was missing, and I couldn't find one in the shop that fit. So this one had the right inside diameter, but the outside diameter was too big. So I just came over to the bench grinder and slowly worked my way around to make it smaller, rounded all the edges, hit it again with a wire wheel, and just custom fit this washer to work. All right, all of the hubs and brakes are back on. I have not wired it yet, just because I really don't feel like laying down in this mud puddle underneath the trailer to do so. So now I'm gonna go pull the new tires out of the back of the pickup, and we will start mounting them. I think I've picked which tire that I want to keep. Some of them are in really bad shape, so I'm gonna move that to the spare position, and I'll break down the other 4, put the brand new tires on. Tire machine is inside the shop. All right, 4 brand new Load Range D tires. Now there were C's on here, but there were also Goodyears, which are a much better brand. These are high runs, made in China, but I decided not to go with a high dollar tire because like I said in the last ones, I spent really good money on those Goodyears thinking I was going to use this trailer a lot more often than I did. And I didn't want to spend that kind of money right now. I was hoping, I wasn't planning on putting tires on this to start with for this trip. It was just after inspection I realized that I really needed to. So these tires were like 80 something dollars a piece, which, I think when I did those Goodyears 14 years ago, they were only about $95 or $100 a piece. But now those tires are like $200 a piece or something like that. Don't quote me on that. So I just figured I'll go the cheaper route, but I went up a load range, just thinking that the higher weight rating will be better, especially in this application where we're going to be towing a heavy piece of equipment. So, all right, we're going to go get these bolted back on, and we can call this project done for now. Well, guys, I didn't record actually putting the wheels all back on, but if you can see out there, they're all on. The trailer's back down to the ground. All the jack stands are in. By the time I was done mounting all the tires to the rims, I got back out there, and it was pouring down rain again. And I just decided not to wait, so I am pretty well wet, but that part is done. Now, truth is, my intention with this trailer was a little bit different than this. So originally when we started this project, what I wanted to do was take all the wood off of the trailer, sand it down, paint it, do the wheel bearings and the brakes just like we did, put all new lighting and everything on it. But the weather has just not been cooperative at all. I mean, it wasn't ideal conditions to be able to paint. I wanted to paint the wheels and everything. It wasn't even ideal conditions to do what we did. We got it done, mostly because we had to. And when I started this, I wasn't planning on having to put tires on it. So the tires kind of blew the budget for the paint and the wood. And then the weather, screwed that all up as well. So, we didn't get all that done, but maybe that's still something we can get done. Look at me, I'm steaming. I don't know if you can see that. It's just because I'm so wet and it's so humid out here right now. But, project for the future, at least now the mechanical is done and I believe it's safe. Tomorrow I'm still going to do a lighting check and I got to wire those brakes and then it should be ready to roll. So even though we didn't get the project done the way we wanted to, I'm hoping you guys enjoyed it. It's a miserable project with the weather and everything, but thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and until the next time I see you, keep those engines running. You know what, guys? And stay tuned because I know that some of you really like the road trip stuff, and tomorrow we head out on a road trip.